I'll call the East Lyme Board of Selectmen meeting to order. Today is December 2nd. Can you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could you adjust the volume on that? Just bring it down on the TV, please.
Actually enjoying the echo effect.
Yeah, it's just a TV. It's going to be down 0. 0. If we could all take a moment of silence for quiet prayer and meditation for the victims in San Bernardino this evening. Thank you. Any additional consent or agenda items or consent items? I don't think so. So we'll move to delegations. Anyone wish to speak to the commission tonight in public delegation? Anyone? Okay. Approval of the minutes of November 18th, 2015.
Move to approve the minutes of the special meeting of November 18, 2015 is submitted.
Second. And submitted and seconded. Any comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any
Abstain.
abstain? Okay.
I'm abstaining from the special meeting.
All right.
You got two, special meeting and the regular meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of November 18, 2015 as submitted.
Second. And any further comments? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain?
Abstain.
Abstain. We have a presentation this evening.
Consent calendar, Mr.
Consent.
Purcell?
My God, I did it again. Consent calendar.
Move to approve the move to approve the consent calendar in the amount of $3,613.61 for the meeting of December 2nd, 2015.
Second. Any comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any abstain? Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, we do have a presentation on the reval this evening. I think our town assessor is here to speak on that.
Oh, yes, good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address the Board of Selectmen. I have Steve Ferrara from Vision Appraisal, who is going to be our project manager, and we'd just like to give you a general presentation of what is to come in the future months ahead. So I'll turn it over to Steve Ferrara. Thank you.
Good evening. Steve Ferreira, District Manager for Vision Government Solutions, and I will be the project manager for East Lyme also. We have worked here many times in the past, so we thank you again for bringing us back to do work for you. We will be starting the project probably shortly after the grand list is signed for this year. We'll let the assessor's office get that settled. And then this is a statistical, it's not a full revaluation, so we won't be going door to door for every property in town. But one of the first steps we will do is be sending out a data mailer, which is essentially just giving the property owners the basic information that's currently on file, and giving them an opportunity to give us any feedback on that. If they see something that's wrong with it, then we can always make those corrections and or set up an inspection if they feel they need an inspection at that time. So that'll be the first phase that goes on, and that, like I said, that would happen sometime in the February-March timeframe. And then after that, it would be sales data collection, to do collect the data on the sale properties, because obviously the sales are the basis for the valuation work that we'll do throughout the year. And that will come next, but we need to have enough sales to begin the analysis work. So we'd like to have at least 6 months worth of sales before we start the analysis. And so that would be starting as of October 1 of this past October. And so that would take us, into the springtime. And at that point in time, we'll do some analysis, begin the valuation work with Donna on evaluating what we're seeing in the sales file, making changes both to the building schedules and the land schedules based on what the sales are telling us. And then that work will go on periodically as more sales come into the picture, going right up to October 1. During the summer, once we've done our first set of analysis and come up with some new land schedules, new building schedules, we will send a crew out to review the properties. And that's essentially looking at each property from the road. It's an exterior review. But at that point in time, we do have preliminary values that we're working on. So they're looking at the property, both checking the data on it and looking at it relative to the new valuations that we're developing against the new sale properties. Once that's complete, we do some more analysis. Again, because the sale valuation date is in front of us, which will be 10/1/16, we're going to redo our analysis 3 or 4 times through the year, right up till we have the final sales as of October 1/16. Also during that time period, we're doing building permits. We'll be doing all the building permits in town this year through, again, October 1 of 2016. Once that's completed, the final analysis is run. We've done that check with the assessor, reviewed the values with them. Then at that point in time, we'll be prepared to release the numbers to the taxpayers, allowing them the opportunity to come and sit with us here in town, review the value with us, answer questions for them, and then that would be the last step in finalizing the project. On the commercial and industrial side, the only thing that we do that's a little different there, you'll still have the sales review and that type of work, but we also will send out what are called income and expense questionnaires. And those questionnaires, we're not really asking people what they make in their business. What we're interested in is what properties rent for. If someone has retail space and they're renting out 3 units, we'd like to know what those units are renting for, and also what the expenses are to run that operation, because that's the methodology that you need in order to value those types of properties. They're investment type properties, and so we look at it the same way an investor does. So that's another phase that'll go on probably in the springtime also, once taxes are being done, all that information is being put together anyway for tax purposes. We get our look at it, and we develop new rental schedules, new expense schedules for those type of properties where that's applicable. So all that information is put together. As I said before, we'll release the numbers to the public, give everybody an opportunity to meet with us if they so choose, and then finalize those numbers for the end of 2016. That's what we have ahead of us. That's what we're going to start with, and if there's any questions, I'll be glad to try and answer them for you.
Questions?
I'll start off.
Sure. Just make sure you're on the mic.
Now, you mentioned that this survey that you're going to send out will go to all taxpayers?
All the residential properties, yes. And it's a what we call a data mailer, so it has a description of the property, particularly the interior of the property, number of beds, number of baths, when it was built, what type of heating system you have, what type of rooms, number of bathrooms. And, of course, all that data is online. It's always online, so people can go to it kind of gets people a chance to think about, what the town has on file for them, and they can actually go to the website and look at the sketch and look at more data. And if there's any questions that arise as part of their review, we just ask them to send it to us, and then we'll take it from there and either do an inspection or make a simple correction.
Okay. Will there be any schematic drawings online of personal properties?
Well, I believe they're online right now. Yes. Yeah, so there's the sketches of the buildings are online right now. There's the Vision website has the town of East Lyme on it, and anyone could look up their property or anybody else's property in town.
I thought that in our previous discussion that we had asked not to have interior layouts online.
Well, it's not the interior, no.
Okay.
There's no interior layout,
Thank
sorry.
you.
It's just the exterior dimensions are shown and the story heights are shown,
Okay.
that's all.
Well, in light of current security concerns.
Sure.
I think that that's an issue, so I'm glad to hear that that's not.
Yes, that will not be online.
Okay, and does a similar data collection form go to the commercial businesses?
No, not really, because we're more interested in that income and expense data as opposed to the interior parts of the building. So instead of them getting a data mailer, they'll get the I&E questionnaire.
Okay, and when will you examine their equipment, their interior equipment?
Oh, the personal property?
Yes,
I
for
don't believe
commercials.
personal property is part of our contract, is it? No.
No.
So that's not something that Vision has been contracted to do.
Okay, then I'll ask the tax assessor later
Sure.
who will do that. I think that's all my questions, thank
Okay.
you.
Great. Anyone else? You're going to start right after the grand list is released. Approximately when is that?
Well, your grand list is normally signed around the beginning of February.
Okay.
So depending upon weather and everything, I would say probably end of February, beginning of March.
And you'd be
that would be just that mailing that would go out first.
Right. And you'd be completed with all your work here in East Lyme.
We would be completed, well, in terms of the valuation work, we would complete that, say, at the beginning of November. Once we've got the final sales come in for October, we run the final analysis, do the final building permits. Then we release that information in the November timeframe to the taxpayers, give them the opportunity. So the end of the year, basically, the end of December, the beginning of January, we wrap it up, and that data is available for the assessor to compile another grand list.
Will you be setting up any local office at all to do this? Or
We'll
is this
normally
all
work out of the
site?
assessor's office. Since it's not a full revaluation, we're not knocking on every door, we don't need a lot of space. It's just, we'll have a small space where we can work out of here. And, if someone needs to contact us, it's either through the assessor's office, or when it comes time to set up appointments, we have a toll-free number that people can call.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the update. Next on our agenda is a $3,000 contingency transfer to IT for maintenance of office equipment. And as you know, in May of this year, we experienced a server crash here at the town hall, a devastating one. We recently completed the upgrading of all our servers in this building. The tax department, due to improper backups, are still in a data recovery mode. And we work...
Camera.
I'm sorry, thank you. And we work daily on that, and we continue to as we're trying to finish up our records because, the audit needs to be done, and there's that is in jeopardy of being delayed, but it is virtually every year anyway. Portions of the disaster recovery were included as part of the annual maintenance with the software vendor R. Walsh Associates. In October, we requested we approved an additional $2,142 for the restoration. While we've made progress, there continues to be billable hours. Due to being early in the fiscal year, since this is a non-planned expense request, an additional transfer from contingency. Walsh recently offered for us to purchase a block of 30 hours at $100 an hour. This is significant savings. Previously, we were paying $119 an hour. So over this 30-hour block, which we have already used half of, this will represent a $570 savings to the town. And we're hoping that you'll pass this motion so we can finish this work that's needed.
Do you want the motion?
Sure, we can do motion and then comments?
Okay. Move to approve a transfer in the amount of $3,000 from account 010120200500 contingency to account 01011092000215 maintenance of office equipment IT for tax department data recovery and forward to the Board of Finance for approval.
Second.
Comment?
Are there any other offices that have not been able to have all of their data recovered?
The assessor's office was compromised, but are they up to date now? They're done. And clerk's office wasn't affected because they're mostly paper. So it's really the tax collector's office. and literally they find an issue, and they got to go through everything they have to find the backup paper to re-enter the it's a very slow, deliberate, one at a time situation. It's not just like you have a run and you just need someone to data input it. It's a lot of work. So it's a slow, one tax record at a time situation. We are getting there, but these folks are helping us patch it together.
So far, is there any data that has been discovered that's not retrievable?
I don't believe so. We always have backup. We have this paper backup. We have other ways of recreating these files. These files have to be recreated, re-entered one at a time. But again, it's not just, sometimes you don't know which one needs to be done until we discover it or until we run that month's report. Again, very, very slow, deliberate work.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? I'll move the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Number 2B is the discussion, scheduled public hearing regarding an ordinance prescribing fees for building and demolition permits. 2B. The situation is that we do not, we waive fees for all public buildings, town buildings. But the situation is going to come up should this school project, or whatever they do end up proposing, go through. We're going to need literally an additional full-time person just to be in the schools all day. Never mind all the other buildings that are being built, and the porches and the sheds and the solar panels that Joe Smith and his staff work on every day. If we could charge the school in this situation, the project, the fees that it would cost us, the normal building fees, especially in this situation, 43% is reimbursable by the state. Right there is something to consider. So this is not just necessarily for this, but if we're in the process of a major building project, we have to be considerate of what it does to our offices downstairs, especially the building official who is, needs to be at these projects all the time to check out electrical and structure and everything else. So that's why we put a pretty high limit on. If we're building $1 million building, it wouldn't come under this. It would be the $2 million building. We don't want to take it. If we're building a $6 million, let's say, police station, wouldn't we want the cost of the associated costs of the building a police station to be built into the costs of the project, not increase the operational budget? Because somewhere along the line we're going to have to hire another person to be part of that, or part of a person, or whatever. So that's why we're asking to amend our ordinance to permit fees for excess of $2 million projects, and that's what we have here.
So do you want me to move the ordinance so we can have discussion?
Yes. Please.
Okay. The one question I have, do we have a date? It's
We
Wednesday.
can
Will
put
it
a
be
date.
before the next Board of Selectmen meeting?
Yes. I don't know if there'll be enough time to post. I don't know how much time is required. So let's just do it the first meeting in January, just to be sure.
Yeah, you're running tight on this one.
Yeah. So, and I'm not confident. So, so if we put in the date of, I think it's January 6th or 5th. It is January 6th.
6th, all right. So Wednesday,
And we should
January
probably have that
6th.
at 7. Yeah, it's already here, 7 p.m. meeting,
All right, I will.
2016.
All right. Notice is hereby, move the following. Notice is hereby given of a public hearing to be held by the East Lyme Board of Selectmen at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, January 6th, 2016, at the East Lyme Town Hall, at 108 Pennsylvania Avenue, Niantic, Connecticut, to receive comments regarding the following proposed amendment to the ordinance prescribing fees for building and demolition permits. A. Section 4 of the above entitled ordinance is deleted and the following is substituted in its place and stead. 4. Permit fees shall be payable for any work to be done by or for the town, including the Board of Education, provided that any such fees for the first $2 million of construction value for any town project shall be waived. B. All other provisions of the above titled ordinance shall remain in full force and effect. Interested persons are invited to attend and be heard. Dated at East Lyme, Connecticut, on the second day of December 2015 by the East Lyme Board of Selectmen.
Second.
Okay, then we have a second. Let's have a discussion.
I think it makes sense. We have these one-time big purchases, they don't come much. I think you make a good point, adding it to our operational budget. Then having to take it back out the next year is not really good budgeting in my book. It's gonna come from the same fund anyways, with the exception of, like you said, the school, which you said is reimbursable.
We can take advantage of that.
$2 million threshold, that probably covers most of anything we had, maybe the track, was that under that? But-
Yeah,
so-
that was under, I think.
It was under
the
it, so-
field.
There's not many buildings that would come under this,
Right.
so I think it's worth bringing forward.
Okay.
Does this apply only to buildings?
Anything with it says permit fees should be
So-
payable for any work being done by the town, including Board of Ed. So it's not just buildings, it's projects that would require a building permit generally.
And a sewer project such as expanding to Saunders Point, that would not be included in this. So,
And for the people at home, we got confirmation we would not need a building permit for the sewer project. It's a good point.
so, would we want to perhaps change the wording of this so that it did include that if we were eligible for state reimbursement for that project?
Well, we would be eligible. There is a cost share with a sewer project. And I don't know if Joe Smith gets involved with that. It would come under the Water and Sewer Commission and Brad, and we would have a clerk of the works, no doubt. But my concern is the overtaxing of our typical operational staff.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's an additional cost, that should be borne onto the project budget, not the operational budget.
Well, and the ordinance itself is ordinance prescribing fees for building and demolition permits, which I would think would not pertain to
Building fees.
sewer construction.
But I'm inquiring if that might be something that we might want to
expand
consider.
Why don't
And
you-
perhaps
why
not
don't you
part of, perhaps
ask
not
Joe
part
to-
of
to
this.
speak.
Perhaps not part of this, but perhaps consideration for
For
later.
the future.
There wouldn't be any building permits with sewer, a sewer project. There is, right now, we're looking into doing filtration project on 2 of our wells, and that could involve the building, and that building could be in the $2 million range. One's the well 1A, right behind the fields by the middle school. The other is down by Bride Lake. So that would be a building, and that would be then a building permit, the building official. But sewer construction, Saunders Point, has nothing to do with the building official. It's everything to do with the sewer department and having a clerk that works, as Mr. Nickerson was saying.
We can look into it further if we need to consider project costs as we go into the sewer extensions. It's a good idea for the future. We can always do something else. Anything?
Well, from my perspective, it's a part of doing business, especially something of that nature and that larger scale. It ought to be no different than all the windows. Whatever that costs is what it costs to have it inspected and someone on site all the time, and that should be involved in it, and we get back what we can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm all for it.
All set?
One additional question. So this isn't zoning, this is just building demolition. Did the state fees that they charge for building permits and for zoning permits, is that waived for municipal purposes?
No, I think I don't know, but
You can't waive it.
we don't waive it even for town projects.
Yeah, you can't.
So
We
for
pay
town
them.
projects, we owe the state,
Yeah,
That's correct.
really?
yes.
Yeah, so
Well,
any.
Karen went down. She's down
So
there.
anything we can get in the reimbursement
Yeah.
side of it
Yeah.
is basically, they've already taken what they can take.
Right.
They're not giving
We
us
get it back now.
any deal
Right.
on it. Yeah.
I'll call the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Next is an authorization for the first selectman to execute contract with Tanko Lighting, a street light audit. Mr. Braga is here to explain the process and how we're gonna do this in pieces.
So I was in front of the board in October, and I gave a presentation on,
Thank you. Very bad at this.
that we're looking into purchasing our streetlights. Now, in the month of November, I went to the Board of Finance and we pitched this concept. Again, at that time, just like in October, I wasn't asking anything in particular. I was giving information to the boards to make sure they were on board. The Board of Finance was on board. Now we're trying to take it to the next step. So instead of jumping into the pool, we're sticking our feet in, dipping into water by doing an audit. That's the next step. It's the easier step right now. And what we're looking, this company, Tanko Lighting, who was already vetted out by the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities through an RFQ process. They are going to come into town if we go forward with this and sign this contract, and they're going to go and hit the ground and check every streetlight in town and verify that verify that with the CLMP EverSource's records. So even because right now I do have information on the secondary part, which is we'd like to move forward in purchasing them. But we still need to know, like CLP is telling us we have a certain number of lights, and nothing against them, but that might not be exactly how many lights we have. We might have more, we might have less. So by doing the audit, we'll know exactly how many lights we are. This will probably go into the early spring. By that time, we hopefully should have the numbers of how much it's going to cost. I put in a letter in October to EverSource to get an evaluation of our lights. So with having the audit, and then with having all this information, we'd be in a better position in early spring to go forward in purchasing the lights. Now, just to verify, by doing this whole thing, it's going to be a cash positive thing. I'm not looking, when we purchase the lights, to ask any bonding, for funding. If anything, it would come out of the streetlight line we already have, and we'd be in a position of possibly saving $125,000 in the first year due to the rebate of all the LED lights. So this is a very positive advancement. The town of Vernon is going forward with this right now. There's a few other communities that are going forward that are a few months ahead of us. And right now, I'm asking to move forward with this audit. It's $8,600. I'm asking if the board authorizes the first selectman to move forward with this, and then we'll have much better information to bring back to you in the springtime to do a full authorization on the full project. So that's the gist of what we're trying to do. If you have any questions, I'd certainly like to answer.
Any questions?
Do we, if this goes ahead, Joe, do we have a start date?
We will. We won't know what that start date is. If we go forward and do this audit, then we should have. I'd be back in front of you sometime in March or April with an authorization.
And how long does the